I just want to say that Marina Mabrey is a bum.
So Marina Mabrey has responded. The best way to respond is by just laughing about it.
I'm going to help with her skill level. It's a skill issue for her.
After being suspended in June, Jacy, Sheldon, and Marina Mabrey have finally spoken out. 2025 match. Mabrey didn't hold back, launching an audacious Instagram tirade in which he labeled critics delusional. Sheldon's unnerving silence had admirers wondering what she would do next. Wave has been triggered by the fallout of heated discussion, placing the WNBA in the public eye like never before.
This is what players need to realize.
The WNBA will never forget June 18, 2025. What was initially a much-anticipated game between the Connecticut, Indiana Fever and the Sun became a spectacle, and not a pleasant one. By the third quarter, this was no longer a basketball game. Chaos, arguments, and a string of incidents that left commentators and fans were stunned.
And then in the third quarter, Sheldon poked her in the eye again. This is something we see all the time. They were on each other. They were talking. It was trashy. The superstar like MJ, unstoppable.
It started with Jacy Sheldon, who went too far in defending Caitlin Clark. Sheldon jabbed Clark in the eye, literally. And we're not referring to a small jab. Everyone in the audience cringed at this eye poke. Clark, never one to back down, gave Sheldon a quick shove as if to scream, "You've got to be kidding me."
Fracas occurred in the fourth quarter, which was, it took, the referees like 10 minutes to decide what to do. They ended up ejecting a bunch of players.
This is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlin at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season.
Then Marina Mabrey arrived. If the eye poke wasn't enough, Mabrey chose to escalate the situation. Yes, she charged at Clark and delivered during a dead ball when everyone ought to have been relaxing. The great athlete was left splayed out on the court after a body slam. This was neither a nudge nor a bump. This was a powerful blow that caused the arena to tremble.
I just want to say that Marina Mabrey is a bum, and I own her. She shoved me like that was going to change the score. Next time, try guarding me instead of throwing tantrums.
After being stunned into stillness, the audience erupted in shock. After the game, Caitlin Clark said very little. And that's all. While the referees hurried to restore order, commentators were completely at a loss for words. The damage had already been done when technical fouls began to fly like confetti. This was no longer merely a game. Caitlin Clark was at the epicenter of this battlefield.
This is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlin at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season.
It was a messy, immediate fallout. One technical foul was given to Clark, one to Mabrey, and so on. And even one for Tina Charles, who became entangled in the chaos. The eye poke was a blatant one for Sheldon. However, Mabrey's shove was reduced to a technical in some way. Fans and commentators questioned this move since it was so perplexing, even if the referees were observing the same match.
So Marina Mabrey has responded to everything that's going on in my opinion, the best way possible.
The drama that followed the game didn't just linger, it exploded, with Marina Mabrey at the forefront, who made the decision that she would not give the detractors the last say, when the majority of players may have laid. Mabrey hit a verbal slam dunk while going live on Instagram with her teammate Sonia Rivers. Has generated days of attention on social media.
Probably the best way to respond. I mean that, like, the best way to respond.
Damned if I do, damned if I don't, that's how she began. And if you thought she'd soften her tone, think again. Raw and unreserved, Mabrey's frustration erupted. She attacked anybody who criticized her, labeling them as deluded and implying they had to be admitted to a mental health facility. Harsh. Indeed. However, Mabrey had no desire to hide her feelings or actions. She made it apparent that she wasn't going to apologize because, in her eyes, she was standing up for her teammate Jacy Sheldon.
Right, you're never going to survive in sport, in the world of sport.
It was a risky action that only served to fan the flames of an already raging fire. Supporters were split. Mabrey was commended by some for speaking her truth, while some felt that her remarks went too far. No matter where you stood, one thing was for sure. Mabrey has no intention of holding back.
Laughing about it, like pretending that it doesn't bother you.
Then there was Jacy Sheldon. Sheldon, the total opposite of Mabrey, opted for quiet as the internet erupted with. Sheldon remained silent in the face of accusations of dirty play and requests for her punishment. Not a post, not a word. Nothing.
You're never going to survive. You're never going to survive in sport, in the world of sport, especially when your sport is relevant now, in the world of sport and social media.
People were left wondering if her utter silence was due to the fact that she lacked a defense. Or was this a deliberate attempt to let the storm pass? In any case, the criticism was unrelenting. She was accused of lacking sportsmanship and doubted her capacity to bear the strain.
You are never going to survive if you don't have that type of an attitude.
While Mabrey dominated the discourse with her fierce defense, Sheldon's subdued withdrawal had its personal influence. Fans were left wondering what she was truly thinking as a result of the inquiries and conjecture it sparked. In a sense, an already dramatic scenario was made even more complex by the sharp contrast between their answers. The WNBA hasn't seen the last of this debate, and both players have undoubtedly kept the discussion going.
Really don't want this to go to that extreme level where now people are saying just crazy things, because this has been around in the WNBA for a long time. It's a really aggressive sport.
To put it succinctly, social media became its own battlefield. The hashtags #JusticeForClark and #BanMabrey were popular in a matter of hours. Supporters were split. Some supported Clark as the victim of unjustified violence. Others defend Mabrey and Sheldon as misinterpreted rivals. The league's no space for hate policy. As the internet hate grew out of control, the campaign now felt like a terrible joke.
Officials give a tech to Sheldon for poking.
One question lingered throughout it all. What action was the WNBA intending to take? At first, the league's response seemed insufficient. Mabrey's technical foul was increased to a flagrant 2, and she was fined $400. Sheldon's blatant 1 remained. As it was, there were no suspensions, no serious repercussions, just regular business. It was an action that enraged supporters, leaving many to question whether the league was safeguarding its reputation or its players. However, the WNBA was compelled to take action due to growing public pressure. There were rumors that both Sheldon and Mabrey would be suspended. It was an uncommon, decisive action for a league that is frequently chastised for its uneven management of player security. Nevertheless, the harm had already been done.
NBA has been physical. It's been physical since its inception. These women are ball players, and they play the game like ball players play the game. And that requires, at times, being physical. Sometimes there are moments where you feel like the physicality is unwarranted.
This wasn't just another game for Caitlin Clark. It served as a harsh reminder of the psychological and bodily costs of becoming the biggest star in the league. She is the one performer that consistently draws record-breaking audiences and sold-out arenas. However, she was sidelined for 2 weeks due to this occurrence, recovering from injuries while the league struggled with its identity. This was more than simply a game, it was a reckoning, and the consequences are still being felt. Then there's the WNBA, let's simply said, their response was slow at best. It required public outrage, trending hashtags, and angry followers. Mabrey was first fined $400 for her technical violations before the league ultimately took action. Was promoted to a flagrant 2 Jacy Sheldon, but that's all there is to it. No suspensions or major penalties. Fans were furious that Caitlin Clark, their golden goose, wasn't being protected by the league. Was evident from the delayed response. The WNBA was unprepared for this degree of scrutiny.
Did Sophie Cunningham take it a little bit too far? Yeah.
The All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul, and it was meant to send a message.
Let's not overlook Sophie Cunningham while everyone was concentrating on the key players. Cunningham was not going to allow. Without a backup, her teammate takes hits. She really stepped up during the turmoil of the game, going full Draymond Green mode. To defend Clark, it wasn't really eye-catching, but it worked. Once more, we have no idea how awful it is. This is where the WNBA was criticized. Supporters were already dubious about the league's capacity to manage elite players, and this circumstance made matters worse. The consequences for Sheldon and Mabrey felt like slaps on the wrist, especially in light of how serious their offenses were and how long it took When suspending someone, IT simply exacerbated the situation.
The WNBA proudly announced their latest initiative, No Space for Hate, No Space for Hate.
The league's No Space for Hate campaign swiftly turned into a joke. Social media was ablaze, with supporters criticizing the irony of advocating tolerance while ignoring obvious, unsportsmanlike conduct. It didn't look good.
And the officials give a tech to Sheldon for poking Clark.
Fans weren't having it, despite the WNBA's hopes that this would pass. The media weren't either. The hashtags continued to be popular, and the pressure increased. Reports appeared out of nowhere. After all, Sheldon and Mabrey were suspended. Although it was a rare instance of responsibility, the league's reputation could not be saved. The harm had already been done. Supporters questioned if the WNBA was genuinely dedicated to safeguarding its players or merely its image. The league's unmistakable star, Caitlin Clark, had been exposed on the court. If the league was unable to protect, what hope did the other participants have for its greatest attraction? This was a reckoning, not only an isolated disagreement. The WNBA had to face some difficult realities regarding its aims and identity. Was safety a top priority in that league, regarding fair play, or was it prepared to leave elite players on their own to maintain the gritty nature of the game?
There are millions of people that never cared about the WNBA at all, that now care because Caitlin Clark is in the WNBA.
As of right now, the league appears to be trapped in the middle, attempting to appease everyone while failing to satisfy anyone. The postponed suspensions, the contradictory messaging, and insufficient fines are all components of a bigger credibility dilemma. Even Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's bright future, won't be able to save a league that doesn't want to learn from its mistakes. Errors. These days, the league's survival and ethics are more important than just basketball. And its prospects. And the WNBA? They have a lot of work ahead of them.
Thank God they get Caitlin Clark. She's injured for 2 weeks. All of a sudden, attendance goes down.
Caitlin Clark is the player, not just a player. An audience watched her return to the WNBA following a brief injury. 2.2 million. You did indeed read that correctly. In league history, that is the third highest audience. Clark has such captivating star power. The WNBA is essentially held together by it, a deluge of social media hype, packed venues, and soaring merchandise sales. Clark, that's all. However, the league's flaws become apparent when she isn't playing, in order for the WNBA to endure. It must learn how to strike a balance between vigor and safety in order to flourish. Since one thing is evident, no matter how excellent a player is, no league can rely on her to lead it indefinitely.
This is why the WNBA is never, ever going to work.
Drop the ball is one thing that the WNBA cannot afford to do at this time, both literally and figuratively. The league's growing pains were brutally exposed by the June 18th fiasco. If there is a bright side, this is it. These kinds of moments have the power to build or break an organization, so the real issue is, what will happen to the WNBA next?